Hey, what's up, Vynyl Countdown people?
The bee is Sydney.
The B is going to be Sydney. This is for my pick for the Vynyl Countdown. I got a lot of different albums that I think are worth discussing. I don't know how many of them are actually 10s, but I think there's a lot of good albums I put in when I was thinking of at the gym that day a couple months ago. I've taken a few out. It's down in the 90s for head count. You want to say hi?
Who's that?
Who is that? Is that you? You ready to see what's going to be on the Vynyl Countdown next? All right, let's do this then. We're going to leave it up to chance, to the iPod.
Yes, B. Please say a command.
Watch this. Play playlist, the Vynyl Countdown.
I didn't understand you.
What do you mean you
Please
didn't
try
understand?
again.
Play playlist, the Vynyl Countdown.
Playing playlist of Vynyl Countdown.
All right, here we go. What do we got? Janis Joplin? Janis Joplin? Janis Joplin, Pearl. Do you know this song? Do you know this? Me and Bobby McGee, you know that song? Do 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 do. All right, so 2-hour drink is on.
What you playing, man? What you hearing, man? What you rating, man? Vinyl owner, vinyl boner. 2-hour drinking is on. Time to hear that song. Vinyl Countdown. Vinyl Countdown.
Can we take a 5?
God, do you need to piss?
It's a bio break, as you say in my field.
I need to get my notes. I didn't even rate Half Moon. I quit.
You only listen to 3 songs.
I've called dibs on the funny quote on Half Moon.
All right, so you want me to start?
This is not a bonerocracy. This is a bonership.
You know what I'm talking about, don't you, Pittsburgh?
Bonerocracy.
Dictatorship.
Yeah, it's a dictator.
Bonerocracy. All right, well, this starts another edition of the Vynyl Countdown. Who we got? We got D. Disney Chris here.
Yo.
We got Scotty B. We got Old Woodsy. We got Dave. We got Bill Hicks in Charleston, West Virginia. And we're going to talk about Pearl by Janis Joplin here today. I included Pearl on my list of albums because I thought it would be good for a listen discussion, because what gets your goose more than meeting someone who loves Janis Joplin and wants to tell you that they were fans of Janis?
See, I thought it was Janis
And
Ian.
alternate
I couldn't find
repertoire.
Pearl by Janis Ian on the iTunes.
Did you call up Janis Ian and listen to little Janis Ian?
Yeah.
When I was 17, I listened to Janis Ian. When I turned more mature, I started listening to Janis Joplin.
Kind of like in a way like Dave Matthews, where you hear people say Dave. That's how you kind of feel when you hear people say Janis, or like fans of the Vynyl Countdown when they say Dave.
The myth,
Talking about
the
Dave,
myth of
Dave Graceland there.
I prefer Dave.
Her first album was with Big Brother and the Holding Company, which is good.
Justin,
Her
was this
last
after?
is Pearl, which
Was
is what
she-
we're talking about
Was this
today.
released after she died?
Yeah, she died during it.
She didn't even live long enough to finish this album. And the irony is the last song on the first side is called Buried Alive in the Blues. And it doesn't have vocals on it. She was supposed to do them the next day after she died. This is an album, like as a kid, that I listened to all the time.
Did you really?
I actually did. I was always in charge of alphabetizing my dad's vinyl collection, probably because he just wanted me to do something so he could go do something. So, yeah, this
Adam
kept me
was in
busy for a
charge of
couple hours
mixing
at
it
a
up.
time.
You
And
were
Scott
in charge
knows,
of
there's a lot of vinyl that alphabetized. I always knew to start with Aerosmith and then end with ZZ Top. When I did that, I always was fascinated with the album cover here of Pearl, right? I'm like, who is this lady, you know? And I remember asking my dad about, who is this lady here? And he said, that's Janis Joplin. Like, she pretty much threw her whole career down the toilet. He never liked Pearl. He didn't like this album at all. And my mom didn't like Pearl either, which made me wonder what the hell it was doing in our house in the first place.
Yeah, won it at the carnival. You knocked over 3 milk bottles.
Nobody wanted a
one
car.
ball.
So for me, I listened to this thing a lot. And, one of the first songs I remember singing as a kid was Mercedes-Benz. I sang it to my grandmother at the age of 7. Prompted her to ask my parents what the hell I was singing about not having a colored TV. For me, the backing band is fun. I like the deep tracks on this album as well. Move Over, Cry Baby, My Baby, Get It While You Can. I think all those are great tunes. But then MTV came along, and I put Janis Joplin and all that vinyl on hold, and really never got back to listening to it until I got older and started appreciating classic stuff a little bit more. Yeah, there's a lot of throwaways on here, and at the same time, Joplin does this with a lot of conviction. I think her voice is doing soul, country, and blues all at the same time, which is great. After my 2-hour drink binge last night, I sat down and listened to this, and I heard a lot of classic soul on this album too, which I thought was great. I'm going to hold my VBs and ask everybody a question, and you guys can answer it and give what you thought and what your VBs are. Dave, how much Janis did you have growing up? And how annoyed do you get when you hear someone say the name Janis?
I don't get annoyed at all, because I know who they're talking about. Not Janis Ian. The hits, I just mostly heard the hits. Bobby McGee was probably big. I didn't really listen to a lot of Janis Joplin, but I mean, I knew Piece of My Heart, and like I said, I knew the hits. That's all you needed for your question, right?
Right. So what'd you think when you listened to it this time?
I liked it. I probably didn't like it as much as you. My favorite track was actually My Baby, which I think is a great song. And of course, Cry Baby. The two baby songs were fantastic. I thought that compared to what I was used to for Janis Joplin, this album was really polished, if that sounds right. It reminds me of when bands were on the Mike Douglas show.
Hi, this is Pinky Lee, and welcome to the Mike Douglas Show with Mike's co-hostess, Lawrence Henderson, and now here's Mike.
They all kind of had that same sound. Her voice is good, but it sounds kind of dated to me. Dated now.
She's pretty worn and everything, too, by that time.
As overall, I give it like maybe 6 BBs.
That's fair enough.
Janis, don't stir.
No. The hits are great. The hits are great, but I mean,
they can't
like I
carry
said.
the whole thing.
Well, I mean, like you said, that's why I asked you if she was already deceased when this came out, because she probably didn't have much say over anything. Not that she did it in the past. It just seems like a lot of the stuff was typical of what was going on at that time. A lot of filler, and they probably didn't have. They didn't have her in the studio to finish off the album, maybe. I don't know.
I think they started recording it at the beginning of September, and then from what I read, she was dead by the beginning of October or whatever. And the producer that did this actually did the Final Doors albums too, so he was like a producer killer. He did Morrison's last albums, he did Joplin's last albums. He's the Black Widow.
Angela Lansbury's still working on this case, actually. She's not convinced.
And then Jessica Fletcher showed up.
Miss Fletcher, you have quite a reputation as an amateur detective.
I mean, if a murder was committed, where is the body?
They had to rule out foul play or whatever.
Yeah, he was also working on InXS, I think, at a certain point in time.
Wasn't he friends with Bob Crane?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Coroner from Los Angeles, Quincy. They were all friends. Death followed.
All right, well, Bill, let me ask you this question then. What worked for you on Pearl and what doesn't? And how many VBs can you really get from a woman whose life has been through the ringer this badly? Because anyone who's telling you to get love while you can, it's got to have it pretty bad, right?
Yeah, that's a good question. I like how you asked that, because you feel for her. You really do, and the desperation is there. There's songs that I can do without, and I'll be happy to name them here in a second. But I wasn't a fan of Janis Joplin beyond the songs that everybody knows, which are of course Me and Bobby McGee, Little Piece of My Heart, and I knew Mercedes Benz, and I always loved those songs, but I never bothered to pick up a Janis Joplin album and see what else she was about, or even check her out on YouTube or anything more recently. So I enjoyed going through this one. I thought I gave Move Over a 6. I thought it was an okay start, but not something I really want to listen to. Cry Baby is really good. I was surprised how much I enjoyed that, and I listened to that one I listened to the whole album through about 3 or 4 times. I went back to Cry Baby and My Baby. I still just love Me and Bobby McGee and Mercedes Benz, so those still hold up for me. Cry Baby I gave an 8. My Baby I gave an 8. Woman Left Lonely, I started to get to the point where I was saying, goodness, sing about something else. in this album. You know what I mean?
You know what I'm talking about?
So I gave it a 5 because I don't even think it's musically that interesting or good. Half Moon is one of the only songs that kind of dropped down for me from starting with that idea of everything gets a chance at starting at 5 and goes up or down. I gave Half Moon like a 3. Buried Alive in the Blue.
It's a little too much boogie-woogie.
Instrumental.
You are so wrong, both of you.
Listening booth.
Buried Alive, now I know why it's an instrumental. That confused me because the instrumental I didn't like that much. I gave it a 4. B and Bobby McGee gave it a 9. Listened to it over and over again. Liked having the headphones on for a change. The one story I remember about people who are Janis man kind of people. I was in Morgantown near the bookstore downtown, driving along with a buddy of mine while I was in law school.
It was Sam
We're
Still,
playing
wasn't
Me and
it?
Bobby McGee on the radio.
You could say Stand Still.
And it wasn't. But it's a guy from my class. But just some random dirty hippie came flying up to our car because we had our windows rolled down while we were playing it, and gave us the whole, I remember her, man. I remember her. It was pretty. He smelled it. He reeked of patchouli. It was a good time had by all. But I like this, and the Trust Me I didn't love. I gave it like a 5. And Get It While You Can I gave like a 6.5. So I gave the whole album only a 6.5 because I don't see it as an album I want to pop in and listen to the whole thing from beginning to end. But I was really happy to discover Cry Baby, My Baby, and loved listening again to the 2 big hits off of this one. I don't even know if Mercedes-Benz is considered a hit, but I remember singing that around the house because my mother would like whistle it and sing it around the house when I was a kid.
I think that was like a hippie hymn back in the days or something like that. Chris, what'd you think of this album? My question for you.
Yes.
Oh, a second. Edit.
Let's just call that rehearsal. Let's call that a run-through.
What do you think? Which side, when you listen to this, which side worked for you better? Side A or side B? If you get a band together, you want to play piano or organ on this thing? Because I think that's the best thing as far as the music goes on here is the marriage of the two.
I agree with that. There's a lot of good organ work. I'm good at working my organ, so I think I would pick the organ there.
Janis Joplin was a notorious organ grinder.
I think she knew Sweet Sue.
Yeah, but she was.
She just was searching for love, man.
That's right. I'd never been exposed to much but the hits, the singles, So, my exposure on this album prior to hearing it was Me and Bobby McGee and Mercedes-Benz. I mean, that's pretty much it.
Right.
I'm not a huge Joplin fan. I think she's good, but it's not something I'd ever go, man, I want to listen to some Janis Joplin. The highlights of the album are, the singles for me. I did like Move Over, and I liked Cry Baby. Overall, I'd give it 5. I can take it or leave it. The album cover's interesting.
There's so much stock, I think, put in Janis Joplin that when you go back and listen to her, I wonder how much her legacy is going to live on once all the baby boomers are gone. She never had a solid album. This, for me, was it.
Well, wasn't this the only one? Or she from Big Brother and Holding Company, right?
I mean,
She had one with them, and then she had one before this, too, which I have no idea.
What did she die from?
Jack, since she has such a short discography, who would you compare that to? Kurt Cobain or more Jeff Buckley?
She's certainly dead, like those 2 guys are. She was a lounge singer. She was a performer. And I think that's where some of the myth comes from. But yeah, she's Buckley-esque in the sense that there's this aura around her. It's not the same age group that worship Jeff Buckley. You look at the songwriters, she had a hand in a couple of these songs, but otherwise, she was to go into the studio and do X, Y, and Z. She was the product, and she hit the road. She played everything. She played every festival. She played every town. That's why people know her, and she partied her tail off in every single town. So these people have stories, and they are probably real Janis Joplin stories because she was just a crazy ass drunk. Until you look at it, look at the cover of Pearl. That was taken before she died. She's only 27 when she died. How is she 46 on this album cover? You don't do that from clean living. She packed it in.
Well, she looks like she's having a good time. I want to know what the drink is in her hand that she has there and everything, too. low-key death, man. You know, like that's why I was always. She has that big feather boa, and that's I think as a kid I was like infatuated. Like, who is this lady? Man? You know.
I mean, honestly, I always thought she looked old. You know, when they said, "Oh, what a tragedy! She died so young." I go, "What young? She looks like Frankenstein. She's old."
I agree with that 100%. That's what I thought.
But the songs are there, but she didn't write all the songs. She was there. I was more surprised when I listened to it that how good that band was.
Yeah.
I was impressed that was, you know, and I almost seemed to think that might have been a year that James Brown or somebody was serving in prison for touching somebody inappropriately, and their band had to back somebody up in the studio because that wasn't
like the inspiration for the Blues Brothers movie.
They knew what they were doing. They were a solid band. I think that's how come there is an instrumental on there.
I got the picture on the back right here. They look like they're shoe salesmen. That these guys don't look like rock and roll guys, man. Especially that guy in the bottom right-hand corner there.
That's Clark Pearson, I bet.
There's a picture of them and the guys from Boston hanging out together.
In Brad Delp's bathroom. There's a picture of them all urinating in the tub. They call it. They
could be the same.
Ambrosia.
I'm gonna make an ambrosia salad, Jello ambrosia salad.
Right? Couple of marshmallows and Jello.
Yellow clean peaches, mandarin oranges, pear slices.
I was more surprised that I always just in my mind thought of her as a rock and roller, but she clearly is not. This is like a James Brown type of album. I guess an R&B or a funk or something like that. And she had some surprising range. I always just thought of her as a scratchy voice screecher. That's why I liked Half Moon, is that it showed that she could actually control her voice if somebody told her to. Yeah, her instrument.
Her organ.
Regardless of what Bill Hicks says, Half Moon gives me more than half of a vinyl boner. I like that song. I think that was one of the better songs on the album. That was a pleasant surprise.
That's got some boogie-woogie to it.
It feels good, and she's using different things with her voice. On the album as a whole, I mean, I'm not going to sit down and I was trying to think, when is it appropriate for a person like me to even listen to a whole Janis Joplin album?
Never.
And it's late in the night of the party, and I just don't feel like getting up to switch the tape. That's the only reason that's going to play the whole way through. Because it's not my scene.
Somebody searches this podcast out, and you know they're diehard fans out there that are like probably biting their tongues right now. Just how could they be saying they can listen to Janis Joplin?
I always try to categorize. Does it get me up? Am I ready to do something? Is this good to drive around to? A dog walk to this, and it wasn't my finest dog walk moment.
Well, Scott, what do you got? You know what? I'll get Boyd. I had a question for Boyd. Boyd's on sabbatical. He's on Pearl sabbatical right now. I have troubles comparing Joplin's vocals to anybody else. Who would you compare for vocals to?
Melissa Etheridge. Maybe Melissa Etheridge, yeah. Would probably be close. And
Melissa Etheridge?
You want me to go man?
This is a funk or R&B album.
So you're
except for
James Brown or Prince?
James Brown, Prince, some of the lesser known James Brown, maybe like a Joe Tex even, or somebody like that. Or a Swamp Dog.
A Swamp Dog, yeah.
Swamp Dog.
What are we doing Swamp Dog next, man? How much Janis Joplin did you listen to, Scott? The Bryceland household didn't have much Janis Joplin.
We just heard Buddy McGee driving to a mall somewhere.
Mike wasn't busting out the Pearl with the 4 of you kids in the back?
Mike would probably bust Turn Me Loose by Loverboy out.
Janis does have a strong bass. There's no doubt about that, because people seem to enjoy that I even listen to it. And then would remind me about which songs I should like on the album or other songs I should seek out.
Well, even too, if you watch the competition shows, there's always someone out there every year that does Janis Joplin, like 2 or 3 people every year. So she's still going pretty strong.
She's a trailblazer, I guess, for rock. How many BBs did you get from this, Jack?
I'd say about 6.
I still find this kind of moving after all these years. These are the notes I took after my 2-hour drink last night. Yeah, this is a study in a woman who's been hurt, can't trust anyone because she hurts. I get annoyed with Janis fans I've met through the years, the ones that are, our fans and aren't fans, because pretty much the heart of this whole album is This is an R&B album more than anything else. That's what I never noticed. These 42-year-old ears, the 7-year-old ears, just saw some funky woman on the front cover I wanted to go hang out with down at the Steel Valley bowling lanes.
Wait a second, I've just changed my vinyl boners. Now you've mentioned Steel Valley.
What were we gonna say, Bo?
Oh, I was saying, as I was listening to it, I was pleasantly surprised with that part of it too. That it was, I didn't really realize that what she did until I'd heard, I think, "Cry Baby," and I was like, oh, okay, and then just kept listening. I was picturing her in my mind doing covers of like Sam and Dave songs and stuff like that. Like, "Give Me Some Love," and I could picture her doing that.
And you know what? If her career would have lasted another 5 years, she probably would have been doing covers of those songs still.
This album, she just had that Joe Cocker kind of quality.
You know what? She was like Joe Cocker in some ways. You know, doing a lot of cover songs, that blues type formula and everything. But Joe Cocker, you don't hear people walking around saying Joe, though. They should be. Now that I just said that, I think they should be.
I hardly knew her.
Actually, if you say Joe Cocker's name 3 times out loud, he'll appear, and I think they're afraid of him showing up and drinking all of their liquor.
I need someone to love.
There is a spirit here tonight. We can feel it. It's in the house. It's inside us.
Pretty much after listening to this again, though, bring this up and I listened to it through the years, but giving it a good 2-hour listen is a little too much for me. I got a lot of memories with this. Like I said, this was an alphabetizing spectacle. This right here and Led Zeppelin 3 were 2 of my favorite album covers back in the day. I played the heck out of both of those albums, and this one I had to pick it up on CD just because I felt like on Facebook when somebody asks you to, we'd be friends. Yeah, I guess so. We got a history. Why not?
This is friend.
So then you go ahead and put it in and everything. It's good like an R&B setting, but in the end, I gave it a light 7 Bs is what I ended up giving this thing. That's it. I'm going to send Boyd in just because he's not here. When you're ill, you get sent in the booth. I think that's automatic.
Final boner.
Vynyl Countdown.
I thought you were talking about doing the logo
with a VB
notebook cover thing. Do you guys have any suggestions or fonts that you love or album covers that you think I should be trying to mock a little bit or mimic?
I wanted Dave on the Whipped Cream and Other Delights album cover, but I wanted Dave basically like in Fries and Gravy.
Like a poutine. You want a poutine
I'm not a
themed
but I'm not a hipster.
cover.
Yeah, if it was going to be a poutine, he has to have a vest on.
He's talking